So since the World Cup qualifiers, the World Cup playoffs are so important, we're going to be making a tier today. We're going to be doing a tier maker. We're going to be predicting, we're going to be ranking, we're going to be assuming what teams are going to Qatar, what teams are going to go to the playoffs or the playoff, and what team is going to go home. What teams are just, going to shit the bed, basically, in my opinion. We got Qatar, baby. We got playoffs, and obviously we got go home. Like, you're not needed here, right? You suck. And then obviously our teams are Canada, Costa Rica, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Panama, El Salvador, and the U.S. of America. Now, I've never made a tier before, but this looks really fun already. I mean, I'm smiling because I'm probably going to have a lot of fun doing it, and you guys are probably going to have a lot of fun watching me doing this, predicting, and basically probably getting all this wrong. Now, before I start getting into the predictions, before I start talking about who's going to Qatar, who's going to the dreadful playoff, and who's obviously going to go home, I want to talk a little bit about all these teams here. Now, in my opinion, Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, Panama, and the U.S. were teams that were obviously always fighting in the past for a spot. They were trying to gain those 4 spots, right? 3 spots in order to go to the World Cup. As of recent years, we got teams like Canada coming up. We got teams like the Reggae Boys coming up. So those 2 teams are bringing more competition to the Concacaf, and I like competition. I mean, competition is always good. It brings the best out of you and your players. Makes you scheme better, obviously. So that's always good. Competition is always welcome, in my opinion. Canada has players like Jonathan David, who just helped Lille win their first title in over 10 years in the French league. So that's pretty damn good. They got players like Alphonso Davies, who plays for Bayern, who's, in my opinion, one of the best players in CONCACAF, if not the best player in CONCACAF. Players like that one kid, Theo, who plays for Wolverhampton. He's a wonder kid there. So Canada's coming up, man, and they got more players in there that I'm not really familiar with, but they're a pretty good damn team, and I think they're gonna be a tough out come World Cup qualifiers. I think Costa Rica, they're not the best team. They're not the greatest. I mean, they were pretty damn good in the past. They were always a tough out. They're still pretty good, but they're not the Costa Rica of old. And I think they could be a liability come World Cup qualifiers. I think that they're one of those teams, in my opinion, who's hinging between the Qatar, baby, and playoffs. Honduras, they're always a big question mark, but when you go play them at San Pedro Sula over there in Honduras, they're very, very tough. They're a tough out. Skill-wise, I'm not sure if they're there, but we'll figure that out when we get to the tier. Jamaica's another team that's been coming up big time, man, in my opinion. They're one of the best teams in CONCACAF already, with players like Leon Bailey, who you can make an argument that he could potentially be one of the best players in CONCACAF, if not the best player in CONCACAF. Plays for Bayern Leverkusen, and he's a standout player there. Another player that stands out for me is Bobby Reed, who plays in I think the Premier League, who's pretty good as well. Ravel Morrison, who doesn't have a club yet, but he's a pretty good damn player in my opinion. I'm missing more in there, but overall, the Reggae Boys, the Jamaican team, national team, they're coming up. And you got Mexico, who obviously I mean, they're probably the most historical club in this CONCACAF region. In the CONCACAF region, one of the most historical clubs. I mean, they're probably the most winning club in the CONCACAF region, probably behind, in front of the U.S. But they got top players like Chicharito, Carlos Vela coming through as well. Players like Hector Herrera, Chucky Lozano. So they're going to be a very tough out. Panama, they're not what they used to be with Felipe Valoy, Blas Perez. They're a pretty good team still, but they're not as competitive as back in the days where they used to go hand to hand with Mexico, with the U.S. Now it's, they're not as good. They're probably a tier below the U.S. and Mexico, maybe Jamaica. El Salvador, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about them. I really don't. Not really familiar with their players. I think they could potentially be one of the weak links here. They could potentially be going home early. And then obviously you got the top dog of the CONCACAF, the top dog that just recently won the CONCACAF Nations League, basically saying that they're the best team in the CONCACAF region, in my opinion, and they are. They got a lot of players. We got a lot of players coming through the ranks, a lot of golden boys, a lot of prospects that, in my opinion, can become world class. Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, Serginho Dest. Most of these players are already world class, and they're only 20-something years old. So keep in mind, the U.S. are in position to run the CONCACAF for another 10 years, I think, probably even longer. But overall, I think we have a better team now than we did 4 years ago when we just had Clint Dempsey and a young 19, 18-year-old Christian Pulisic. Let's start off with Canada here. They're one of the teams that have come up big time in the past 3-4 years, 2 years in my opinion. They weren't really well known. They weren't really relevant. I mean, they were known, but they weren't relevant. Nobody really took Canada serious when it came to soccer. But now with revelations like Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies and a couple more players in there, they're becoming a top team in the CONCACAF. I think it's definitely showing a little bit, but do they have enough firepower to qualify to Qatar? That's the question. or can they be a potential playoff team? Can one player like, Alphonso Davies on the defense / winger and a player like a striker like Jonathan David help them, propel them, be enough to propel them to gain that World Cup ticket? I know I'm going to start off fast and I'm going to surprise you guys, a lot of you guys, but I'm going to say that Canada is going to be one of those teams that goes to Qatar. Overall, I mean, you got Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, but you know what, man? Honestly, I don't know. I'm having cold feet here. I don't know, man. Canada, because then you got Jamaica, obviously. Then you got Mexico, who's fucking tough. Jamaica, who's coming up. The U.S., who's definitely, obviously, coming up big time with their generation here. But then you got old-timers like Costa Rica, Honduras, who are very tough to beat at home. Can that be it? I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say Canada is actually going to be the playoff team. I'm going to say that Canada is going to continue to live life by the edge, and they're going to be the team that goes to the playoff here, in my opinion. That's what I think. To compete against the likes of Jamaica, Mexico, obviously the U.S., Costa Rica, Honduras, when they're playing at home, when Canada's playing at home, but when they have to travel to Costa Rica and Honduras, Mexico, U.S., can Canada pull out the win? I don't think so. So that's why I'm going to say I think Canada is going to be the first team to enter the playoffs. We're moving over to Costa Rica here. Now, Costa Rica is not the team that it used to be back in the day. They were very competitive back in the day. Now, it seems like there's a change of guard there. They still got Keylor Navas, but aside from that, Joel Campbell, Brian Rees, an aging Brian Rees, but aside from that, then they got that left back Matarrita, who plays in the MLS, but aside from that, they really don't got much. They're not as competitive as they were in the past, I think. So I think for that reason, they're going to be a tough out at home, but I don't think they can go to a Mexico, a Jamaica, a U.S. and win there. I don't think that. I don't think they can do that. They can pull that off. So I think that they're going to go home early. I think they're going home. I think Costa Rica is eventually going to go home early. So we're going to put them in that docket. Up next, we got Honduras. Honduras, man, I'm not really familiar with them as of late. I haven't really been keeping up with them, but they're surprising, man. They're good one year. They're bad the next. They're well coached. They're playing bad the next. I mean, it's very, very hard to predict what type of team they are. But they're very tough. They're a very tough out when you go to their home stadium in San Pedro Sula. They're very hard there. Doesn't matter what team you are. It's just very hot, very humid. The weather is always tough, and this team's tough at home, but that doesn't mean that they're going to qualify for the World Cup just because they're tough at home. You still got teams like Jamaica coming through the ranks, Mexico obviously, who's an old dog, and then the U.S. who's an old dog, Panama, who could potentially be a surprise, but Honduras, I mean, they're not what they used to be with, when they had Pavon, when they had Crosby, and they didn't show much in the Concacaf Nations League, in my opinion. So I think Honduras is going to be the second team to go home early. I think the Concacaf is going to have a change of guard this year. I think this year is going to be the year where teams like Jamaica, teams like Canada are propelling themselves over teams like Costa Rica, Honduras. That's what I think. Now we're moving over to the Reggae Boys, who, like I said, have players like Ravel Morrison, players like Leon Bailey, and I'm missing a couple, but they have a lot of players that are playing in top-tier leagues that are pretty damn good and playing in top-tier teams. For example, Leon Bailey plays at Leverkusen, and Leverkusen is not a pushover. They're a pretty good team, and I think they're even relevant because of this kid. This kid's pretty good. Scores a lot of goals. Jamaica's not just a team that got a couple of dual citizen players here and says, put them together, voila, they're good. No, they're well coached as well. They're fast and they're great at the counterattack. And I think Jamaica, in my opinion, could definitely go into a Costa Rica, into an Honduras, into a Canada, a US, and give them trouble. So I think, especially with all the players that are coming through for Jamaica, I think that Jamaica is going to be the first team to qualify. I think not first team to qualify, but in my bracket is going to be the first team to go to Qatar, baby. So I think Jamaica is going to make their way to Qatar, to a World Cup in a long, long time. I don't even remember the last time Jamaica was even at a World Cup, but they're going to make it to the World Cup. We're moving over to Mexico. Mexico obviously is one of the best teams in the CONCACAF still. Yeah, their golden generation is getting wiped out a little bit. They're getting a little older, but they're still very seasoned. They're very, very talented, very experienced, and they have what it takes. They know they have that they're long in the tooth. They know what it takes to go into a Costa Rica, into a San Pedro Sula, into a Panama and win there, into a US and win there. So I think Mexico is going to be the second team to go to Qatar. They're too talented. In my opinion, they're probably the second best team in the CONCACAF, just behind the US. And the only reason I'm saying they're behind the US is because obviously the US defeated them in the CNL, CONCACAF Nations League final. So that's why I'm putting them there. But I think Mexico, man, they're the type of team that that can become a road warrior and just go in there and win anywhere. Obviously win at home in El Azteca, but they could definitely go into any place and win there. So I'm going to give the nod. I'm going to give the second ticket to Mexico to enter the World Cup. We got Panama next. Like I said, Panama is not what they used to be when they had players like Felipe Baloy, Blas Perez, El Conejito Blas Perez, whatever they call them. But aside from that, they really don't have much. I think Panama just recently pummeled a Concacaf team, obviously an inferior Concacaf team, 4-0 or 3-0. But overall, I mean, I don't think World Cup qualifiers, I don't think Panama's going to have enough in their squad, enough in their team to garner a ticket to the World Cup. So I think that Panama is going to be the second team, actually the third team to go home. I don't think they're talented enough. They don't have the squad to go and win in a US, to go win in Azteca, to win in Costa Rica. So I think Panama, if you task me, is going to go home. Bye-bye. You're going home, Panama. Services ain't needed here. El Salvador is one of those teams that it's, you know, basically it's like they have to be here because they qualified, right? We know, in my opinion, no offense to any Salvadorian out there. I love my Salvadorian friends out there, my Salvadorian followers. No disrespect to any of you. I just think that the CONCACAF is too damn tough. I just don't see El Salvador going to Costa Rica or Mexico or Honduras or the US, not even Panama. I don't think they could even go into Panama and pull out a win or an upset. So if you can't beat Mexico, you can't beat the U.S. Not saying they can't, not saying they won't. Anything can happen, but I just don't think that El Salvador is talented enough to travel and win on the road. I don't think they could be that road warrior that Mexico could be to pull out upsets. And obviously, in order to qualify to a World Cup, you got to go into places like Costa Rica, Honduras, the U.S., Mexico, and you got to pull out some points, at least a victory here and there, and some points, some ties. But I don't think El Salvador is talented enough to do that. So I'm sorry to say that El Salvador is going to be going home early. Definitely, probably the first team to go home early. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. And that leaves us with the top dog in the CONCACAF, the US of A, baby. The best team in the CONCACAF region. The US is going through a golden generation, if you were to ask me. They have players like Christian Pulisic, Giovanni Reina, Weston McKennie, Serginho Dest, Tyler Adams. Jesus, I can name a lot of players. And players behind them waiting in the wings to get their turn at the USMT level as well. So we can safely say that the US can, in my opinion, run the CONCACAF for another 10 years. Like I said earlier, 10, 12 years. They're that damn talented. And maybe with the players that are coming through the ranks as well, maybe even longer than 10 to 12 years. They have more than what they had 4 years ago to go into a Costa Rica, to go into an El Azteca, to go to Jamaica or even Honduras and pull an upset. I think that the US can definitely, with the players they have, barring any injuries, if they were at full strength, they're starting 11. I think they have enough firepower to go into any country, even San Pedro Sula, Mexico, into La Azteca, and definitely defeat Mexico. I think the US is that talented. They're one of the most talented teams here, in my opinion, in the CONCACAF region. Mexico is one of the top teams in CONCACAF, and if you could beat Mexico, if you could topple a team like Mexico, a top dog like Mexico in the CONCACAF, I think you could potentially beat any team. Yeah, Canada's coming through the ranks, Jamaica, you know, they're coming up big time, but I think US has enough firepower to go into a Canada, to go into a Jamaica, to go into an El Azteca and topple those teams. So as it stands, these are my predictions. Like I said, I could be completely right or completely wrong. Who knows? We'll find out after the World Cup qualifier ends. But for now, I got new dog, newcomers, new top dog. Well, not top dog, but new dog. Jamaica, the Reggae Boys showing up, making their appearance after 20, 30 years of not going to a World Cup. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been, but it's been a while. But Jamaica's finally going to make an appearance at the World Cup. They're going to book their ticket this year / next year. The next team that's going to be booking their ticket to Qatar is going to be Mexico. Obviously, Mexico, you know, they're always involved. Every 3 years they're booking their ticket, and I think this year's not going to be any different. I think they're too talented. They're way too talented over a Costa Rica and Honduras to fail. I think they're definitely going to book their ticket to Qatar. Yeah, and they're not the best team. They're not the team that they used to be in the past, but they're still talented. They're still good. They still got some pretty good prospects, pretty good players. I think they're going to be good enough to qualify. They're going to book their ticket. I hope you guys enjoy that tier maker, that tier CONCACAF World Cup qualifying tier. This is my first time making a tier, and to be honest, it was actually pretty fun. Not going to lie, I enjoyed this. Maybe I'll make some more. Maybe I'll do it for the CONMEBOL. Maybe I'll do it for the Euro. I don't know. We'll see. But overall, I enjoyed it. I like it. I like what I put out here. You know, Jamaica, Mexico, US going to the World Cup, Canada potentially making it via playoffs. I like it. I like the bracket. It's fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys are enjoying this content, if you guys are enjoying the USMT content or soccer content, hit that like button, subscribe, comment. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm, obviously. Helps US fans like you, soccer fans like you, find US channels like me, soccer channels like me, and you know, you guys share the content, spread the love, all that good stuff. So if you guys are enjoying it, man, hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell, comment, all that stuff. Seriously, comment down below. Let me know if you guys think that my bracket sucks or my bracket's good. What team should go in, what team should be out. Let me know what your guys' bracket is. As a matter of fact, I'll definitely comment back in some. Aside from that, we'll probably drop another tier in the next coming videos, depending on how this reacts. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.